I'm totally pumped about this call in particular. I was working on one and the internet wasn't working the way that I really wanted it to, but I really wanted to do this, get Midge Brown on. So Midge is an endocrinologist. So this is so very important because this is somebody that specializes in diabetes, and dealing with insulin resistance is her area. And so when we start talking about protocol, this is a game changer. So I don't want to waste any more time. Trent is going to be introducing here in just a second. So I'm going to jump on over to this. We might hit a commercial in here, so just be aware about that. I'm going to try to skip through that. I've got to kind of jump around a little bit. But hey, if you are coming in to be a part of Healthy Together and Feeling Great, this is a great call that I'm so excited to be able to host and be a part of. So Trent's going to be introducing Midge here. So we're going to jump onto his call. And so that's going to kind of jump things around, change things up just a second. So let me share this. We're going to get this started here. Yeah, let's see. He's getting ready right now to introduce her. All right, here we go. Ooh, me real close up. It wasn't seeing me that close.
Time we'll actually have some Q&A for people that are on the protocol, maybe people that are doing great, maybe people that aren't doing great yet and feel like they need a little bit of hope to get through that beginning period. But that's what the call will look like. Now, my guest today is truly a very special individual. This is Dr. Midge Brown, or Dr. Midge for short. She is from Toronto, Canada, and is an endocrinologist that is an expert on all things blood sugar, metabolic health. She literally has spent her entire career helping kids and adolescents as a pediatric endocrinologist. Is that right, Dr. Midge?
That's right, Trent.
Stay out of the ER and helping them manage their blood sugar. And Dr. Midge has been a great, we were previously strangers, but she's become a great friend and a great ambassador for these calls and this protocol. We've had her on the call a couple of times now, and I always just learn a ton and love hearing from Dr. Midge. So she's going to be talking about the science behind blood sugar and insulin resistance and why this protocol is so effective. So I'm going to minimize my screen and turn the time over to Dr. Midge Brown from Toronto, Canada.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much, Trent. I am honored to be here. And Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your story. That is incredible. Nothing makes me happier when I hear stories like yours. So I feel very grateful to have heard that. When Trent first asked me to do this call this week, I have to be honest. I initially wanted to say no because I'm not in a very good space right now emotionally because my father is not in a good space. And let me share my screen and back up a bit and explain. So that's my father. About 28 years ago, he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and he, like a lot of people, had ignored his symptoms. So when he was diagnosed, he was very, very sick. He actually had to get hospitalized. And it was then that I decided to go into the subspecialty of endocrinology. I was already doing my pediatric residency at the time. And in the 28 years that he's had diabetes, his diabetes has continued to progress. He's been on multiple medications. He's had such good care from doctors, and he's had me. And despite that, he has had so many of the complications of diabetes. One of them is that he's almost blind. He has diabetic retinopathy. He has kidney failure. He has heart failure. He has a pacemaker. He has constant sores on his legs, infections. He's had multiple mini strokes. And the most devastating thing of all is his dementia. And so when I first introduced this system to him 2 years ago, we were amazed at what it did for his diabetes. because of his dementia, we actually didn't get him to do any fasting. We didn't get him to carb control. You know, food is his main joy. Well, one of his joys. And we didn't want to take that away from him. So we just had him use the system, and he used it very consistently. And in 6 months of him using the system, we were able to bring his hemoglobin A1C down from 8.3, which is poorly controlled diabetes, to 6.3, which is still in the prediabetes range, which you'll hear about, but no longer diabetic. Now, we've been trying to help him for 28 years, and this system helped him in 6 months without doing any of the fasting or anything else, just the system. And I found that amazing. The unfortunate thing is that when we started the system 2 years ago for my dad, his dementia was too far gone. And so it did help a little bit, but it was too late for his dementia. And so 6 weeks ago, after multiple falls and multiple ER visits and, you know, head injuries and CT scans, we decided it was unsafe for him to remain in my brother's home. And so we put him into a nursing home. And in the past 6 weeks, he's gotten worse and worse. He's been very emaciated. He's not eating. You know, he definitely does not recognize us now. And there's a lot of guilt, a lot of sadness. Hold on. A lot of heartbreak. And that's why when Trent asked me, I was like, not really, but I realized that I wanted to honor my father. And honoring my father meant talking about his story in the hopes, sorry, I really said I was not going to cry, in the hopes that somebody on this call would take my father's story and use it as motivation to make a change to improve their health. So about 7 years ago, I myself developed prediabetes. Okay, give me a minute.
Take your time. This is we're all feeling what you're feeling, Midge. Thank you.
Definitely.
I'm good. I myself developed prediabetes about 7 years ago, and I knew then, you know, that medications were not going to save me. I was also in the throes of perimenopause, and I started looking into things that could save me, and I found two fantastic principles, which is fasting, intermittent fasting, and carb control. My problem is, as an Asian and a lover of rice and bread, I kept trying to do the keto, the carb control, and I kept falling off the keto wagon, and I was really struggling. And it was about 2.5 years ago, October 2022, that I came across Trent on social media, and I'm forever grateful because he was talking about insulin resistance and gut health and the Feel Great system. And after doing a lot of fact checking, a lot of research into the products, I ordered the system, and I'm, like I said, forever grateful because it literally changed my life. Within 3 months, I was able to lose 20 pounds. I reversed my prediabetes, came off metformin, my brain fog went away, my anxiety almost gone, my energy went through the roof, and my skin tags went away. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, literally, where's this been all my life? And so I'm so happy to talk about this product and have this be a part of my mission. So right now we are in the midst of a major health crisis. It doesn't make sense to me that despite all the advances in science, in healthcare, all the medications that are available to us, we are getting sicker rather than better. All of the things that are killing us right now are what we call chronic metabolic diseases. Recent studies showed that 93% of us are actually metabolically unhealthy. 70% of us are overweight. Over 40% of us are obese. Over 20% of adolescents are obese. 1 in 3 adults have what we call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Before the 80s, that didn't exist. We only had fatty liver disease and liver disease in general because of alcohol abuse, but now it's because of our food. Even kids as young as 2 and 3 are getting this now. Now, you guys are going to learn about the dangers of diabetes and prediabetes, but almost 50% of us have either prediabetes or diabetes. And in those with prediabetes, 80% of us don't know that we have it. In kids, in adolescents, this is about 20% having prediabetes. And in most of them, they don't know that they have it. And this is very disheartening for me because as a pediatric endocrinologist, this did not exist back when I was doing my fellowship. It was so rare to have a child with type 2 diabetes. And now over 20% of adolescents have prediabetes. And all of these issues I talked about are due to one root cause, and that is insulin resistance. And we're going to talk all about it. But before I talk about insulin resistance, what it is, how we got it, I want you guys to know a couple of things. One is that all carbohydrates, even the healthy whole grains, or the genetically modified massive fruits and veggies, they turn into sugar in your bloodstream. And in any given time in your bloodstream, there's only 1 teaspoon of sugar circulating. And it only takes half a teaspoon more of extra sugar in the blood to be diagnosed with full-blown diabetes. And yet the majority of us are eating about 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrates every single day. That's about 50 to 75 teaspoons of sugar every single day. And now insulin is the hormone that's released by your pancreas to bring that blood sugar down. It acts like a key to open the door to let the blood sugar go into your cells to be converted to energy. And now every time you eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between, your blood sugar goes up. And insulin is released to bring the blood sugar down. But because we're eating so often and we're eating very highly processed carbohydrate-rich foods, our blood sugar keeps spiking up, which means that our insulin keeps going up. And because insulin's a hormone, it does not go up and down as quickly as your blood sugar. It takes about 3 to 4 hours for it to come back down, but we never give it a chance to come back down. So what ends up happening is it stays elevated all day long. And it's this chronic elevation in insulin that leads to this phenomenon called insulin resistance. Because when anything in our body is chronically elevated, we naturally become resistant to it. And so now next time you eat a carb-heavy meal, your body has to make more insulin in order to do the job. And now that leads to even more resistance. And this becomes a vicious cycle of more and more insulin and more resistance until one day your blood sugar starts to climb and you're diagnosed with diabetes. But one of the things I really want you guys to know is that this diagnosis of diabetes is a late finding. This is end-stage insulin resistance, right? But this is unfortunately when we as doctors are alerted to make a change. But this means that your body is no longer coping with your diet and you're starting to see the cracks. But what's missing in the background is what insulin, the havoc that insulin, whether it be because it's too high or because your resistance to it is causing in our bodies. And that's because insulin has so many functions in our body. It's got hundreds of functions, in fact. It's responsible for muscle growth, for fat growth. It's responsible for electrolyte balance, for sex hormone production. It's got so many functions. And that's why when you have a problem with insulin, whether it be too high or because of the resistance, you're going to get so many of these symptoms. And you can put in the chats if you've got at least one or more of these symptoms, right? Like I think all of us have these or had them. Things like skin tags, because insulin makes things grow. Pigmentation, which is called acanthosis nigricans, or adult acne, constantly feeling hungry, inability to lose weight, cravings for sugar and salt, brain fog, mental health issues, abdominal obesity, but more importantly is the obesity or the fat in your organs or around your organs called visceral fat. High blood pressure. This is a major problem. High blood pressure is probably prevalent in about 50% of adults. And for us doctors, 90% of the time we tell you we don't know why you have it, but we do know why. It's because of insulin resistance. Insulin resistance leads to high triglycerides, the fat in our blood, to low HDL. Insulin resistance is polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is insulin resistance of the ovaries. Insulin resistance leads to erectile dysfunction in men. And in fact, this may be the first sign in a young man that they have insulin resistance is erectile dysfunction or migraines. Or Debbie talked about her GI problems with IBS and reflux. And if left unchecked, insulin resistance not only leads to diabetes, but it's the root cause of all of the chronic metabolic diseases that are killing us, that are making us all sick. Insulin resistance is by far the biggest risk factor for heart disease, for obesity, for osteoarthritis. Insulin makes things grow, like I said, with cancer cells. Or with skin cells, well, it makes cancer cells grow. That is why poor metabolic health is the biggest risk factor for cancer. It is the root cause of low testosterone in men and erectile dysfunction. Again, it leads to strokes. And finally, to Alzheimer's and dementia, which is now being recognized as type 3 diabetes. So I'm going to talk about the stages of high blood sugar. But once again, I want you guys to realize that it's not just about the blood sugar, right? It's also about the havoc that insulin is doing. But now that you guys recognize how damaging high blood sugar is, you're going to understand why insulin was working so well or so hard to bring that blood sugar down. So in stage 1, you may start getting the, simple or the very common symptoms like fatigue, cravings, brain fog, dry mouth, frequent urination. And in stage 2, you may actually start to notice some intermittent changes in your actual blood sugar levels. But mainly you'll have symptoms like blurry vision, irritability, headaches, trouble focusing. I talked about the darkened skin, which is called acanthosis nigricans or skin tags. You may start to get some early signs of neuropathy or fat in your liver. And in stage 3, this is the prediabetes stage where your hemoglobin A1C is elevated now between 5.7 to 6.4%. At this time, you may feel tired all the time. At this time, you're going to start to get belly fat or that visceral fat, which is so dangerous. You're constantly hungry. One of the things I want you to know about the complications at this stage is some of them you may actually get way earlier or some you may get later. This is all very fluid, so don't hold me to them at these stages. And then in stage 4, this is type 2 diabetes, where your hemoglobin A1C is above 6.5, and you're going to start to get the complications of diabetes, things like neuropathy or retinopathy or poor wound healing or kidney damage and failure and heart disease are all very prevalent at this stage. And then stage 5 is advanced. This is where chronic high blood sugar leads to organ damage, many of which are permanent. Things like severe nerve pain and numbness, loss of vision and blindness, kidney failure or amputations, heart attacks, strokes, and type 3 diabetes. So how do we lower blood sugar effectively, and why are our meds falling short? One of the big reasons is that our meds are trying to address the symptom of the disease, which is the low blood sugar, which is lower blood sugar, rather than addressing the root cause, which is the insulin. And some actually address the blood sugar by actually increasing insulin, which is going to worsen the root cause. Some take that blood sugar and try to stuff it into the cells, so it's out of it's out of your blood, but it's still in your body, and that's kind of like sweeping dirt under the rug. So what are the effective strategies? Like, what can we actually do? Well, the best things to do is to really mitigate what's going into your body, like actually what is coming into your body as sugar, or getting rid of that sugar once it's in there by implementing strategies like walking and strength training. Thank you guys, and I'm sorry I cried.
Midge, that is so great. I want to sincerely thank you. That was one of the most fantastic explanations I've seen on the subject ever. So thank you. It's okay that you cried. You were talking about your dad. I talk about my dad and cry all the time, and everybody in the chat was feeling exactly what you're feeling, because we all, every single one of us, knows somebody who's going through exactly that. Or maybe we have a loved one. So thank you for bringing it home. Thank you, Dr. Midge Brown, pediatric endocrinologist from Toronto, Canada. Midge is truly special, and many of you that follow her on social media know that she's a bit of a social media superstar now. How many endocrinologists that you know every single day go on social media and do a live session where they teach people for free how to stay off of medications and stay out of the ER? Pretty special person, Dr. Midge Brown. So thank you. Okay, many of you are here for the first time. Many of you are new, and I want to explain the protocol that we follow that has been life-changing for us. I want to give you lots of proof. In fact, you're going to be overwhelmed by how much proof you're about to get on how well this works. I don't care what you've tried before. I don't care if you've failed everything you've ever tried. If nothing has worked, or if nothing has worked and lasted, this can be dramatically different for you. This is different than anything I've ever done before. And I also don't really care how healthy you think you are. We have, matter of fact, Zach Bitter, who crushed the 100-mile world record, uses this product. Mike Saunders, who broke the world record in powerlifting, is using this. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., one of the top players in Major League Baseball, he used this to lose 40 pounds quickly and get in shape for opening day. Okay, so this protocol works for people from all backgrounds, all walks of life. I want to explain the protocol, and then I want to do something really cool. I'm going to share my screen, and let's just hope that this works. And please pardon the stuffy nose. I'm so worried about it. I hope you can hear me and I don't sound like I'm talking through a sock. Okay, so as Dr. Midge said, we have a big problem. The biggest problem in the world, all the experts, all the medical professionals, the scientists agree that it's this thing called insulin resistance. I mean, if you could solve that problem, how many other problems could you solve, right? We know that that is the root cause of other problems, serious problems, right? These are the problems that are keeping us up at night. These are the problems that are sabotaging our families, that are killing the people that we care about, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our brothers, right? Sisters. So if you feel like this whole call has been about you, just know that we all feel the same way. This is about us. 93% of American adults we know have metabolic damage. This is an empirical study that was done at the University of North Carolina. We are all getting this way because we all have the same problem. What if you could solve this problem for yourself? What if you could solve this problem for somebody that you love, right? There are drug companies that, as Dr. Brown put it, sell a lot of solutions to this problem, but they really don't, address this problem. They are addressing symptoms short term, right? So we take these drugs to address symptoms short term. What if we could forget about the symptoms and kill this guy right there in the middle, right? So there is a solution, and this is the protocol that we have been following. This is something that is not just some supplement. This is not some, new fad or diet. It's not extreme exercise. It's not calorie counting. It's not an elimination diet, okay? Don't worry about any of that. This is something that now even your skeptical friend, your doctor friend, your nurse friend, in fact, let me just ask, if you are on this call and you are a doctor, a nurse, an educator, a dietitian, a nutritionist, if you are in the medical space, put medical in the chat. I want people to see just how many medical professionals, chiropractors, endocrinologists, right, are all about this protocol. Your doctor, your skeptical friend, they can look it up in the physician's desk reference. It is now HSA qualified, FSA qualified. We are going to change the world, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a drug. It is not a drug. It is not a pharmaceutical. This would be classified as a nutraceutical, and it is guaranteed to work for anybody that uses it. You can try this risk-free for 90 days, and when it helps you transform your health the way it helped Debbie, we're going to all be here to clap for you and celebrate. If for any reason you decide that it's not your cup of tea or you're not satisfied for any reason, you can just get a refund from the manufacturer, okay? This is affordable to the masses, okay? It costs about $5 per day, which is what many people spend at Starbucks on their morning cup of coffee, right? The protocol is very, very simple. There are 2 steps. One is something that you sip. I've got mine here, if you can see on my camera. I've got mine here. This is something you sip whenever you're not eating, whenever you're fasting or taking a break from food. You sip this. And when I sip this, it makes me completely forget about food. It's a concentrated extract of the yerba mate plant, extremely rich in dietary polyphenols like chlorogenic acid. When you're sipping this, you're keeping your insulin low, and you're also lowering inflammation throughout your body. When it's time to eat, before meals, we simply take a blend of plant fiber. I realize that sounds funny, but literally I keep one of these in my car. I keep one in my briefcase. I keep one in my desk. I often keep one in my pocket because no matter where I am, when it's time to eat, I can whip out this packet of fiber. And this is incredible at controlling blood sugar and insulin. I'm going to give you a lot of proof in just a second, okay? There are more than 20 different clinical studies. We have studies from the Cleveland Clinic. We have studies from the University of Sydney. You heard it here first. This could be disruptive. It could change the world. And I'm not exaggerating, okay? This is now the only natural, clinically proven and patented alternative to statin drugs.
For that, Dr. Midge, I hope that you guys got a lot out of that. If you've got any questions, particularly about what Dr. Midge was talking about or with Trent, that you would make a comment down in the section below. That this is so I want to hear from Dr. Midge again. I really want to have Dr. Midge back on again. Her presentation about this is so incredible. And to hear it from an endocrinologist, so that if you're dealing with insulin resistance, there is a solution. And Trent laid that out there, right there. And if you are interested, it's right here. There's the QR code. If you go to kenhagler.com, if you go look at on the page, you will see that information as well. So if there's anything, if you are ready to get started, you just let me know. You just let me know. And you're hearing it right here from doctors. We are looking at medical professionals that know this stuff, that are sharing the stuff, that are helping you heal, all right, in a natural way. And that's what we're all about here at Healthy Together and Feeling Great. Hey, thank you guys so much for being on here. We'll be back again live. Make sure you check out some more of the videos. That library is expanding and trying to get more of my videos up here so that you can get that education and to learn and to be live to help with coaching along the way. Y'all have a great one. And as I say all the time, go get the day